Let's have a look at this. What do you know? A foglet flying in my fucking face. These people, excuse my language, I'm sorry to start it off like this. We're going to have a look at this, and I'm going to want to recap. There's a lot more, I'm sure, once I am able to examine this. Apparently, this is from like the Journal of Medicine, Nanomedicine, okay, Foresight Institute, archive, 1994. 1994, okay? Keep this in mind. All this is known in 1994, and it's posed as something that's theoretical. Okay? Now, let's read. Let's let Anna read along.
Nanomedicine Art Gallery. Image 132. Utility Foglet. Title: Utility Foglet.
1994.
Date:
Artist. See, it's
1994.
even back then. It's fiction.
Artists:
Artist.
J.
Stars Hall. This is from a book
Image
published in
dimensions.
1996. I didn't know this
600
was
by
1994.
540 pixels.
It went back that far.
Image palette:
Just
black and white.
just keep in mind
Image
as you
description:
listen to this, all this is true.
imagine
real
a
right now.
microscopic robot. It has a body about the size of a human cell and 12 arms sticking out in all directions. A bucket full of such robots might form a robot crystal by linking their arms up into a lattice structure. Now take a room with people, furniture, and other objects in it. It's still mostly empty air. Fill the air completely
Okay,
full
now
of
this is
robots.
from another publication. I
The
thought it was all
robots
going
are
to be
called
here.
foglets, and
Hold
the substance
tight.
they form
I'll
is
get the
utility
publication
fog,
right now.
which may have many useful medical applications. Copyright info.
So this is from 1994, not 1996. I thought that last piece was going to go into it a little more, or if not all of it. This book I found published in 1996 called Nanotechnology, Molecular Speculations on Global Abundance, written by J. Stars Hall, Dr. Hall, and he speculates here. This is speculation. I don't even know that that's the case back then. Let's have a listen.
10 Utility fog, the stuff that dreams are made of. J. Stars Hall. This is a most majestic vision, and harmonious, which by mine art I have called to enact my present fancies. William Shakespeare. An engineer of the ancient world would have gone slowly mad, try ing to understand how a solid roadway could be fixed at both ends while its center traveled at 100 miles an hour. Arthur C. Clarke. This that you see is simply my projection, composed of forces for which you have no name in your language. E. E. Smith. D. Sufficiently advanced. Somewhere in your house there is a refrigerator, and within it stands a glass bottle of a beverage you wish to drink. Without getting up, or putting down this book, beckon with your hand. The door of the refrigerator will open, and the bottle will emerge, floating in the air. Simultaneously, a crystal goblet will appear in your hand. As the bottle approaches, the stopper will remove itself with a minimum of fuss. Enjoy your refreshment while the bottle floats serenely back to its place. You decide to re-landscape your yard. Go outside, somehow you become 50 feet tall, and the area looks like a model of itself. To your tools, the ground seems to have the consistency of whipped cream, but no matter how careless your step, your feet and knees aren't able to damage anything. After you've swapped the pond and the tennis. 162J. Stars Hall. Court, utter a few odd-sounding words. Your normal size, the better to judge the effect. A few more magic words, like plinth and colonnade, and a small Grecian temple, marble columns and all, appears. Wave your arms and it expands and contracts like some outsized accordion. When it's just right, lock it into place with a final command. Any sufficiently advanced technology, wrote Arthur Clarke, is indistinguishable from magic. The particular invention this chapter is about, utility fog, brings this point home. Refrigerator will open, and the bottle will emerge, floating in the air. Simultaneously, a crystal goblet will appear. To judge the effect. A few more magic words, like plinth and colonnade, and a small Grecian temple, marble columns and all, appears. Wave your arms and it expands and contracts like some outsized accordion. When it's just and processing. With utility fog, the physical world is mined, in an objective literal sense that will become clear in the next few pages. A pall of air. Imagine a microscopic robot, about the size of a single human cell. It has a body about the size of a bacterium and several arms sticking out in all directions. A bucketful of such robots might form a robot crystal by linking their arms together into a lattice structure. Now take a room, with people, furniture, and other objects in it, it's still mostly empty air, and fill it completely full of robots. With the right programming, the robots can exert any force in any direction on the surface of any object. They can hold an object up, so that it apparently floats in the air. They can hold you up, applying the same pressures to the seat of your pants that your chair would. They can exert the same resisting forces that your elbows and fin girdups would expect from the arms and back of the chair. A program running in utility fog can thus simulate the physical existence of almost any object. Utility fog operates in two modes. First, the naive mode where the robots act much like cells, and each robot occupies a particular position and does a particular function in a given object. In the SEC-OND, or fog mode, the robots act more like the pixels on a TV. Utility fog 163. Screen. Objects are then formed of patterns of robots, which vary their properties according to which part of the object they are representing at the time. An object can then move through a cloud of robots without moving the individual robots, just as the pixels on your TV stay put while pictures move around on the screen. Although each of the robots is too small to see individually, masses of them would scatter light so much as to be opaque, just like fog. The robots at the surface of a naive mode object could hold a layer of surface plates of any desired color. Unused plates could be distributed throughout the volume of the object and physically swapped into place about as fast as a television changes its picture. In fog mode, the object would have to hold up holographic iPhones in front of your eyes, similar to those described elsewhere in this volume. Point 1. Utility fog that is pretending to be air needs to be impalpable. You would like to be able to walk through your fog-filled house without having the feeling you had been cast into a solid block of lucite. You'd also like to be able to breathe. To this end, the robots representing empty space constantly run a fluid flow simulation of what the air would be doing if the robots weren't there. Each robot does what the air it displaces would do in its absence. How do you breathe when the air is a solid mass of machines? Actually, it isn't solid. Foglets only take up about 5% of the volume they occupy. They need lots of elbow room to move around. Like cotton candy, they carry the air in a given volume along when the fog moves, but relatively little force is required to compress the air out when needed. Thus, when fog simulates the normal air currents caused by breathing and other motions, air is moved and mixed just as it normally would be. When you inhale, fog squeezes out the appropriate amount of air. Carried along in the fog, every 6 inches or so, is a pea-sized object that acts as a control center and local power reservoir. In the case of a catastrophic system failure, all the fog that is part of a naive mode object simply freezes into place, and that which is pretending to be air contracts around its local centers. In a typical room, the 164J, Stores Hall floor would be covered to a depth of half a foot in objects very similar to golf balls. To understand why you'd want to fill the air with microscopic robots only to go to so much trouble to make it seem like they weren't there, consider the advantages of a TV or computer screen over an ordinary photograph. Objects on the screen can appear and disappear at will. They are not constrained by the laws of physics. The whole scene can shift instantly from one apparent locale to another. Completely imaginary constructions, impossible to build in reality, can be commonplace. Virtually anything you can imagine could be given tangible reality in a utility fog environment. Why not, instead, build a virtual reality machine that fools all your senses into a purely simulated version of the same apparent world? Well, in a VR machine you could experience digging up your backyard as a 50-foot giant, but the backyard itself would miss all the fun. Fog acts as a continuous bridge between actual physical reality and virtual reality. Fog is a universal effector as well as a universal sensor. Any real object in a fog environment can be manipulated with an extremely wide array of patterns of pressure, force, and support, illuminated with any pattern of light, measured, analyzed, smelled, tasted, weighed, cut, reassembled, or reduced to bacteria-sized pieces and sorted for recycling. The roads must roll. As well as forming an extension of the senses and muscles of individual people, fog can act as a generalized infrastructure for society at large. Fog City need have no permanent buildings of concrete, no roads of asphalt, no cars, trucks, or buses. It can look like a park, or a forest, or if the population is sufficiently whimsical, ancient Rome one day and the Emerald City the next. It will be more efficient to build dedicated machines for long-distance energy and information propagation and physical transport. Fog is ideal for local use and as an interface to worldwide communication networks. It can act as shelter, clothing, telephone, computer. Utility Fog 165. An automobile. It can be almost any common household object, appearing from nowhere when you need it, and disappearing when you don't. It gains a certain efficiency from this extreme polymorphism. The same fog that was your clothing becomes your bath water and then your bed. Another item of infrastructure that will become increasingly important in the future is information processing. Nanotechnology will allow us to build some really monster computers. Although each foglet will possess a comparatively small processor, which is to say, it will have the power of a current-day supercomputer, there are over 16 billion foglets to a cubic inch. When those foglets are not doing anything else, that is, when they are simulating the interior of a solid object or air that nothing is passing through at the moment, you could use them to balance your checkbook. Or whatever. What computers can't do. When discussing something as far outside of everyday experience as utility fog, it is a good idea to delineate both sides of the boundary. Because fog is capable of so many amazing things, we should point out a few of the things it will be incapable of simulating. Anything requiring really hard surfaces, such as knives, axes, drill bits, nails, and so on. Individual foglets are hard, but then so are individual grains of confectioner's sugar. Naive mode fog objects can be about as hard as plastic. Fog mode fog can simulate much harder objects, but only by fooling your senses in a number of ways. Anything requiring high density. Naive mode objects can be about as heavy as wood. Fog mode objects can seem heavier by dynamically supplying the forces you'd feel from weight and inertia. Anything requiring both high strength and low volume. You couldn't make a parachute out of fog. Unless, of course, all the air were riddled with it, and then you wouldn't need one. Anything requiring high heat. A fog fire could merrily blaze away on fog logs in your fireplace, and it would feel warm on your skin. 166J, Stores Hall. Few feet away. It would feel just the same if you put your hand into the flame. Anything requiring molecular manipulation or chemical transfer cation. Foglets are simply on the wrong scale to play with atoms. In particular, they cannot reproduce themselves. On the other hand, they can do things like prepare food the same way a human cook does, by mixing, stirring, and using special purpose tools designed for them to use. Fog cannot simulate food, or anything else destined to be broken down chemically. Eating fog would be like eating the same amount of sand or sawdust. Monsters from the ID. In 1611 William Shakespeare wrote his final play, The Tempest. 345 years later a pair of obscure writers, Irving Bloch and Alan Adler, updated The Tempest's plot into a story called Forbidden Planet and created a modern myth. Forbidden Planet, more precisely the movie version developed by Cyril Hume, has become a classic cautionary tale for any scenario in which people become too powerful and control their environment too easily. In the story, the Krell are an ancient, wise, and highly advanced civilization. They perfect an enormous and powerful machine, capable of projecting objects and forces anywhere in any form, following the mental commands of any Krell. The machine works, not wisely but too well, manifesting all the deeply buried subconscious desires of the Krells to destroy each other. Utility fog will provide humans with powers that approximate those of the fictional Crow machine. Fortunately, we have several centuries of literary tradition to guide us around the pitfalls of who Briss made reality. We must study this tradition, or we may be doomed to repeat it, a truth that is by no means limited to utility fog, or indeed to nanotechnology in general. The first thing we can do is to require fully conscious, unequivocal commands in order for the fog to take any action. Beyond that, Utility Fog 167 can try to suggest some of the protocols that may be useful in managing the fog in situations where humans are interacting in close physical proximity. Even if we solve the problem of translating one's individual wishes, however expressed, into the quadrillions of sets of instructions sent to individual foglets to accomplish what one desires, the problem of who gets to control which foglets is probably a much more contentious one. We can, if we desire, physicalize the psychological concept of personal space. Foglets within some distance of each person would be under that person's exclusive control. Personal spaces could not merge except by mutual consent. This single protocol could prevent most crimes of violence in our hypothetical fog city. A corollary point is that physically perpetrated theft would be impossible in a fog world. It would still be possible by informational means, fraud, cons, hacking, and so on, but fog could be programmed to put ownership on the level of a physical law, not that. It makes much sense to think of stealing a fog mode object, anyway. Ownership and control of fog would not be greatly different in principle from ownership and control of land. Most of us are used to such laws, but it's actually a complicated bundle of rights. You don't own the road, but you have exclusive rights to the part you drive on right now. You do own your car, but you will discover limits if you park in a tow-away zone. Indeed, much of the fog's programming will need to have the character of physical laws. In order for the enormous potential complex ITY to be comprehensible and thus usable to human beings, it needs to be organized by simple but powerful principles that are consonant with the immense, hardwired information processing that our sensory systems perform. For example, it would be easy to move furniture, or buildings, by manipulating a scale model with your hands, and easy to see what's going on by looking at the model. However, fog could just as easily have flooded the room with 100 kHz sound and frequency scaled the echoes down into your auditory range. A bat would have no trouble with this kind of scale model, but to us it's just noise. 168J, Stores Hall. It will be necessary, in general, to arrange the overall control of the fog to be extremely distributed, as local as possible, and robust in the presence of failure. When we realized that a single cubic inch of fog represents a computer network of greater complexity and computing capacity than any existing in the world today, the concept of hierarchical control with human oversight can be seen to be hopelessly inadequate. Algorithmic distributed control algorithms that barter locally for computational resources offer one possible solution. Point 2. D with folded hands. Another major advantage for space-filling fog is safety. In your car, or its nanotech descendant, fog forms a dynamic form-fitting cushion that protects you better than any nylon fiber seatbelt. An appropriately built house filled with fog could even protect its inhabitants from the effects of a nuclear weapon, within 95% or so of its lethal blast area. There are many more mundane ways fog can protect its occupants, not the least being to physically remove bacteria, mites, pollen, and so forth, from the air. A fog-filled home would no longer be the place where most accidents happen. First, by performing most household tasks using fog as an instrumentality, the cuts and falls that accompany the use of knives, power tools, ladders, and so forth can be eliminated. Second, the other major class of household accidents, injuries to young children who hurt themselves out of ignorance, can be.
The link is in the description to this PDF at ResearchGate, I believe it is. Now, in closing, very quickly, I'm just going to state this, my friends, is what I have been showing you. Okay? This is what I've been showing you. Where is it at? I opened it in Chrome, didn't I? I've been showing you this for the last 5 4 years, going on 4 years at least. And this is what has taken a hold of the people. In fact, it has taken a hold of the people. Let me see. Not sure what I did with it. Let me get that link for you. This is exactly what the drug delivery system of the future is. This is exactly what the slave plantation, the prison planet. I look like Greg Palast. Wow, all right. A little more handsome though. This is what I've been showing you, these foglets, these utility foglets. Now they're fiction. If you Google them now, they're in fiction. Okay? You've been snookered. Somebody is trying to get one over on you. And they've been character assassinating me at the very least. This is meant, this gang stalker, I know I said briefly, these gang stalkers, they make people do things. And by now, they're in awe that I haven't done anything or did anything to precipitate some kind of institutionalization or burial or whatever to minimize my ability to impact the future, for whatever that's worth. 9/11 truth is that what they keep saying. They keep on saying they're on my side, that they showed me all this. That may be true, but I don't think it's true necessarily. They had no choice but to show me this, and they thought by now, it's just that even now they think it doesn't. This is inconsequential. It doesn't matter. It's as if they're saying, "Go ahead, Monsanto." They're showing me what they can do, and then saying, "Go ahead, Monsanto. Tell everybody; they'll believe you," while making me destitute and having to struggle literally to breathe. They can make your heart flutter with this shit. It's not a joke. They can make your throat dry. They can attack all three salivary glands, okay, and make your throat dry when you start talking too much. Now, some kind of ulcer activity. I don't know. It's lump. You make your throat lumpy. I don't know. Is this how they cause cancer? And then the graphene that you're inhaling and ingesting, and maybe not just the graphene, maybe all the metals, any substance that you have in you, they can hit it with a frequency and turn it into various things, disappear it even. Okay? And the people would ask, like, why would they do this to our sky? Because they can make it such that it's virtual or it's augmented. It's mixed reality. That's what this mixed reality is. They can put poison in a crowd of people and only 4 of them die. They can have a crowd of 1,000 people and just disperse all kinds of chemical agents and only 4 of them die, or vice versa. Okay? It's not a joke. This is not a joke. They can scream at you, squeeze your heart, and shake the ground, and do among other stuff. But I just noted the stuff that other people would seemingly be affected by, without them being affected. Okay, because they've personalized everything. You heard of audio spotlight? Well, this is sensory spotlight. This is visual spotlight. It's just you, if they wanted to. Just like you can put a cell phone in a bag with other cell phones and ring one cell phone because you know its number. This is deadly serious. This is not a joke. This is too much power for some ne'er-do-wells to have. And this is what I'm thinking. Ne'er-do-wells don't have this power. I'm praying there's someone out there highlighting the absurdity of this and then depending on a messenger to bring it to people and figure it out the best they can. And I'm one of them. Okay, there's somebody who has imbued me with this, whether they wanted to do it for the good of mankind or just to scoff and ridicule all who attend the ceremony. It doesn't matter why, though. The question is, what? And maybe how, so we can reverse engineer it. And who? Okay? Lights on, rats out. Link is in the description. If you care about anything, if you care about yourself, your progeny, if you care about truth, you're going to like, share, subscribe, but most of all, share. Because if you share, you like and you subscribe. And hit the tip jar if you feel inclined. Because this thing has cost me more time and money, and time is money. Time is money, extremely. Time is precious. That's a tip. Hit the tip jar at Real Payday Monsanto on Cash App. Lights on, rats out.